Lounging, son.
All right, guys, welcome to another edition of the Comic Lounge Podcast. I am your co-host, Dylan. With me is my ever-loving... Are you blue-eyed? Is your eyes blue?
Yeah, they changed. They're blue and green, yeah.
Okay, the ever-loving blue-eyed friggin' Ryan Balcom. Ryan, say what's up to the people.
What's up, guys? What's up?
Anyway, we got a we got a great little podcast set up for you guys today. Our weekly read. It changed like 3 times.
Yeah, I know.
We switched over to Deadly Class. What did we say it was going to be last week?
I think first it was God Country, then it switched to East of West after you looked at your to be read pile, and then I saw your IG story where you were talking about Deadly Class, and I'm like, okay, let's do that.
Yeah, so there's that, and then we're going to talk about Deadly Class, obviously. We're going to talk a little bit about some animated news that's freaking awesome that I think is going to be fantastic. We're going to talk about Todd McFarlane's documentary that just came out last Friday, which I feel like every creative should literally just go watch. It's really inspiring.
Anybody that's ever wanted to do something for themselves or be their own boss should watch this, because that dude is like, you take out the comics, you take out everything. That dude is a fucking amazing businessman. Well, we'll talk about it later, but he's just inspiring, dude. That video was on so many different levels was inspiring.
And it's available for stream on Sci-Fi. So if you guys have the internet, which everyone should have the internet, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to us, then you can access us. And you can access you can totally access that, and then you guys should go watch it. It's like 45 minutes, nothing too crazy, but we'll talk about that. Anyway, let's talk about some cool animated stuff that's happening. If you grew up in the 90s, you should know that 90s comic book stuff, as far as the animated stuff, was a heavy part of the childhood. Right? We had awesome stuff. Obviously we had the X-Men, we had Batman the animated series, we had Superman, Batman, Justice League. We had that short-lived but awesome Silver Surfer.
Oh my God, so ahead of its time, dude.
So ahead of its time. But I think it didn't work. It was so stoic and so depressing that kids were just like, nah.
I loved that shit when I was a kid. Maybe that's just something about me, though. Yeah, I don't know, but I loved it.
We were emo kids without being emo, bro.
Yeah.
So a couple things. First, let's get the small chunk out of the way, because not too much is really known about it. We're gonna talk about Kevin Smith, Green Hornet. He's been hired by WildBrain, who owns properties like the Peanuts, the Teletubbies, and Inspector Gadget. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. And he's scripting a modernized tale of the Green Hornet. Now, this isn't exactly like the Green Hornet that everybody's used to. This is actually the son of the Green Hornet and the daughter of Kato. What I've gathered from it is that it's actually going to tell the stories of both the Green Hornet and both Green Hornets and both Katos, but kind of on a flip-floppy, there's flashbacks, so there's stuff that obviously the new Green Hornet is going to take from the old Green Hornet, and same thing with Kato. Now, what's awesome about this is that it's Kevin Smith. I don't know, Kevin Smith is literally everybody's favorite fat guy, even though he's not fat anymore. In 2004, he was hired to do the screenplay for a Green Hornet movie that never saw the light of day.
Right.
But we did get the Seth Rogen Green Hornet, which I thought was actually pretty good.
I'll be honest, I never watched it.
It was pretty good, dude.
Or I think that's when I was still getting high, and I don't remember it. I don't know.
I watched it while high.
I'm saying maybe I was probably high. I don't fucking remember a goddamn thing of that movie. But yeah, you're saying he wrote the script for the movie that never came to fruition, but he also took that script and it was a comic book at Dynamite.
It was like a 4-issue run, right?
So, like you said, he's got his ties to that. I'll probably check it out because anybody that knows me and you know me, I love Kevin Smith. I think that's my holy grail of interviews. If somebody asked me who my top interview would be, it wouldn't even be a comic book creator. Well, he does comic books too, so I guess he's technically that. But
he's a Renaissance man, a multifaceted Renaissance man.
But he would be at the top of my list, man. I think if I could never interview anybody else and it was Kevin Smith, and then everything shut down, my site, my podcast, everything, I think I would be satisfied that I had a chance to fucking sit down and talk to him. So I'll check this out. I love his writing, dude. He's fucking hilarious.
I love his Daredevil.
His Daredevil is I want to do that on the podcast at some point. I definitely want to read Guardian Devil. His Green Arrow is phenomenal. I have the fucking absolute edition of that, and oh man, I just love Kevin Smith, dude.
Hold on, writing down to get the absolute of Green Arrow by Kevin Smith. Didn't Phil Hester do that?
Did.
Fuck yeah, I love Phil Hester.
I'm telling you, and there's no other way to read that. Once I got that edition of it, it's beautiful. I mean, and I just finished the Absolute Watchmen. I finished that last night, and Dave Gibbons' art, large and in charge, bro. You know what I mean? Like I just love that format. The Absolute editions are some of my favorite ways to read books.
I've never opened an Absolute edition. I feel like I'm missing out, and I feel like you're about to yell at me for it.
No, I'm not, because I understand they're expensive, dude. I don't blame you. I mean, and they're always sealed, so it's not like you can ever flip through them. So I understand. I mean, I think you did see the inside when Jim Lee sketched in my fucking Hush Absolute. Saw it online.
Speaking of that, so I was just like randomly going on stories, and Jim Lee was live, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna check it out. He's over at WonderCon right now, and I open it, and it's literally you and Ari.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I remember when you sent me the screenshot, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that's crazy. How did he see the inside of the book? And then like I looked on the story, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm standing in front of Jim Lee too. Like you just screenshotted his remark in the book.
Yeah.
But we're going off topic. But yeah, anyways, Absolute editions are amazing. Read some Absolute editions. You could probably get some of them cheaper on eBay.
Yeah.
But...
Okay, so we're gonna talk about Invincible. Obviously, this news actually dropped like a couple weeks ago that I had no idea about until someone posted like the entire picture of the cast, which
it's actually longer than that. I've known about some of these castings for quite some time, but
that
image that you showed, I hadn't even seen that. So,
dude, it's crazy. Like, I mean, this is very. I mean, it's Robert Kirkman, so the Invincible cast is very Walking Dead heavy, but also it has some heavy hitters on here. I mean, J.K. Simmons is on it, Sandra Oh, Zazie Beetz, Zachary Quinto, Seth Rogen is going to be Alan the Alien.
Dude, can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it so that when I reread it, I have those voices in my head. Because sometimes I can't like get characters' voices in my head. Like Ari will tell me like he hears the characters in his head when he's reading. I don't always have that. Like for instance, Iron Man, I hear Robert Downey Jr. every time I read a fucking Iron Man comic. But I am down for all of the casting choices that they picked. I'm all in, dude. And you know me, bro. I love Invincible. Yeah, I think you're gonna love it. I think if this fucking pushes you to finish the series,
it is. I'm actually plowed through like a couple chapters last night.
And small tease. I kind of said like an Invincicast, right? I want to do a read through of the entire series of Invincible. Ari was down, and now you're reading it, so now you can fucking do it with us.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
It'll be like kind of like what we're doing with Fables, but it might just be its own thing. It won't be called Comic Lounge Podcast. This is, for any of you listening, this is going to be a separate series, kind of like I have, on the YouTube channel with the lounging episodes, the off-the-shelf stuff like that. This is going to be strictly Invincible talk. So that'll probably drop sometime around when the show's going to premiere.
Yeah. And there's one casting in particular that I'm super excited about. If any of you know that I watch a lot of television, and one of the shows that I watch is called The League. It's about like fantasy football and like all the antics that go on with it. Right? Yeah. And Rexplode is being played by Jason Mantzoukas. If you don't know who Jason Mantzoukas is, watch The League, and he's a character known as Rafi, and he's the brother-in-law of one of the main characters, and he's the funniest motherfucker I've ever seen. Like, I feel like Rexplode, even with the few lines that I've read, that he's only had a few lines within the chapters that I've read, and I think he's going to steal the show. Rexplode is freaking Rafi, El Cunado, and it's going to be great, and I cannot wait.
I'm telling you this.
Actually, when I was reading it last night, I read a couple Rexplode friggin' caption bubbles, and I already heard Jason Mantzoukas.
Nice. How far into Invincible are you, real quick, before we?
After the alien invasion, that guy, I forgot his name. He has a weird name, but he's collecting all his other dimensional selves to
go
forward with the plan.
Yeah, all right.
But yeah, that's where I'm at. What's crazy about this is like I feel like it's so Walking Dead heavy. Like I mean, Stephen Wen, we have Lauren Cohen, freaking Michael Cudlitz. It's very Walking Dead heavy. Also, Mark Hamill. Anyway, that's besides the point. I feel like a lot of these actors like have a lot of faith in Kirkman, especially after the success of Walking Dead. That I think that they basically hopped on the chance to do this. Like I'm very, very excited for this.
I can't even describe to you I mean, like, you can't hear it in my voice because I don't really sound excited, but like I'm fucking really stoked, dude. I love this series. Like, this is one of my all-time favorites. And when I say all-time favorites, like I'm talking like it's up there, dude. It's up there with like all the Brubaker stuff for me as a whole. Like, the series is just where it starts and where it ends up. I was sad to see it go. I understand why it ended because he didn't want to do the book without Ryan Ottley. But fuck, dude. Oh my god, I can't wait for you to have read the entire series and so we can talk about it. Like, because I know it's gonna be one of your favorite superhero books for sure.
It's already climbing. Like I really Invincible, the character himself, Mark is great. Like he's you said it's the small moments. But ever since you said that, like I've really taken that into account and like how much that I agree with you, because it's these small moments. It's not like the big. I mean, though granted, like some of the big fights and like that, that's all well and good. That's great. That's fantastic. That's like the reason why I love comics. But what's making me love comics more is the small moments, especially like some of the stuff with Mark and how he's dealing with the absence of his father and dealing with it both as a civilian and as a superhero. It's something really special. It really shows you the polar opposite lives that superheroes have to live sometimes.
It's cool, and it takes some of the trope. While some stuff you could say is predictable, some stuff like it goes in a way that you'll never see Marvel and DC do. Like you will not catch some of that shit in a mainstream superhero book, and that's I think what's also the magic of it. But it, like, you're saying the small moments, it is the characters themselves, whether they're in costume or not, whether they're fighting or battling or whatever, the characters themselves just have so much life in them, and you really you root for them, man. You know what I mean? Like, you really become attached to them. And by the end of that first compendium, you will be in love with that series. You read the second compendium, like, you'll be halfway through the second one. You're like, I need to have the third one ready to go so that I can continue. Yeah. Like, to me, it's that good. Yeah, like, I'm excited for the animated series, and I hope that they still push through with the live action that they were talking about doing. We'll see. Seth Rogen was supposed to be producing that, so it's kind of interesting that he's doing a voice on the show. I think animated is probably the best route for this one. You
can get away with so much more in the animated.
Yeah, because this fucking comic gets like it gets bloody as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it gets really over the top, and to be able to show that in a film may not
translate
for a lot of
well.
people.
Yeah. You got to think about it like this. It's like when they turned Kick-Ass into a live action. There was stuff in Kick-Ass that they didn't even throw in, like in the live action. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, because it was just too rough. And trust me, I get it. Like, I understand the changes. But yeah, I definitely agree with you that maybe live action isn't the way to go for this. But it would be great to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down either way. Like, if they tell me there's an Invincible movie, I'm gonna go watch it. This is an adaptation I can get behind. I think, especially Kirkman, he's got a good track record. Like, he built that with Walking Dead, so he's been able to adapt one of his books and did it well. I see no reason why this won't do well as well.
And he got away with a lot in The Walking Dead too. Like, granted, most of the gore scenes were like zombie included, so he can kind of get away with it. But I kind of felt like throughout the course of the series, at least what I watched anyway, I felt like they just made scenes and like, let's see what we can get away with today, guys. Like, like a zombie. It's like a zombie kill of the week. That's what me and my friends were calling it when we were doing our weekly watches of Walking Dead.
I missed how that show was in the beginning. It got pretty bad. But anyways, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about stuff that had adaptations that the comic book was better. Deadly Class.
Yes.
Good segue. Written by Rick Remender. Yeah, you see that? I'm learning. I'm learning from the best.
Yeah.
I'm learning from your moonwalk last week. So yeah. Okay. It's a story by Rick Rick Remender, art by Wes Craig, colors by Loughridge, and edited by Sebastian Girner. It's a coming-of-age tale set in the 1980s during the Ronald Reagan era. I actually live in Ronald Reagan's hometown of Simi Valley. And yeah, so just reading a book that is centralized over the idea of assassinating Ronald Reagan is actually hilarious to me. But yeah, it's set in the 80s, and it's about this guy Marcus Lopez Arguello. Man, so when I was reading his origin story, about how his parents died, Jesus, fucked up is that, dude?
Yeah, it's a vicious backstory, dude. And
yeah.
Rick Remender, he pulls no punches in this book, dude, whatsoever. I picked this up the first issue when it first came out. The first cover, I was like, damn, that looks dope as fuck. Like there's something about the blue of that cover with just the black silhouettes. I'm like, dude, I need to check this out. I picked that up and I picked up Black Science. I haven't disliked an issue. It's really fucking dope. And the cool thing about the single issues is he puts in playlists of music that he was listening to back then, because this is kind of, I don't know if you read some of the back matter, but this is kind of like a memoir for Remender. He puts a lot of himself in there. Obviously, he didn't go to a school of assassins. But
did he?
But there's a
I don't
lot.
Know. He just writes assassins really well. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, well, if he's a fucking trained assassin, dude, he hides it well, because he doesn't seem that way in real life.
It's all a front, dude.
Yeah. he talks about like moving schools and being bullied, kind of, and being the outcast, during high school. And dude, moving in high school that can be fucking rough, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just moving from when we were in school, just going from like the main school to the continuation school was kind of hard. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in that like awkward stage, luckily I don't want to say found myself, but like I kind of was comfortable with being who I was there. I met you, and like we started talking music and comics, and that opened me up, and I wasn't as shy as I was, like maybe in 9th grade, because that was in the end of 10th grade when I met you, and
yeah.
So like I get it, and he fucking conveys all those feelings you have at that age. I mean, obviously, like, it's a little bit different. This kid is, dealing with the death of his parents, and you're in a school of assassins and all this other outside shit. But when you boil it down to the interactions of the students, it feels real. It
very
feels
natural. Like his internal monologues for Marcus.
Oh my God, I know.
Holy crap! This kid is ahead of his time. But also, when we were all teenagers, didn't we all think we were kind of ahead of our time? Like,
yeah.
Like, especially in our alone moments where it's just our thoughts to ourselves. I feel like he really conveyed that, especially for someone who's dealing with something that no kid should ever deal with. Like, you know what I mean? Like, right. The loss of parents, like, that's something I can't even fathom, because luckily for me, like, like, I'm fortunate enough to, I had my mom, and then, so, you know what I mean? So for him to really convey all those so well in those inner monologues, like the kind of thoughts that run through your head, especially at a young age, like the hopelessness of it all, but at the same time, like, there's this strength in it, which is really crazy. How he analyzes what friendships are, like what defines a friendship, and what defines all that, and like how he analyzes the school and how all their little cliques and they're all just trying to show face just to prove to everybody else that they're tough, especially in the school of assassins. I thought that was really dope, because like, if you take away the assassin part of the school, like, dude, high school is a bloodthirsty place. Like, they will rip you apart. Like, these kids are vicious. I don't care what era it's in. Like, kids are vicious. You know what I mean? And for him to like really convey those feelings and to convey those analyzations so well was just like, damn, this is fucking cerebral as hell. And he writes excellent cerebral stuff. Like, Remender is great,
Remender's definitely one of my favorite writers. And you talk about the inner dialogue. There's one page. It's towards the end of the book. Marcus is, in his head, he's talking about like that feeling you have when like a friend stays over, right? And you're having fun, you're laughing and stuff, and like, and then the kid goes home, and then you're just left alone with yourself. Where just like moments ago you were having fun and like you were on this like natural high, and like, and then that's gone. And when he described that, it instantly transported me back to when I was a kid, because I was like, like trying to think, like, did I experience that? And I'm like, fuck, dude. I remember that. I remember those feelings of like having so much fun when you have a friend stay the night or even stay the weekend, and then they go home and you're just like, oh, fuck. Like you're kind of like, you're sad, but you were just happy, and like nothing really happened other than like your friend left. But it's like just that moment that when he wrote that, I'm like, dude, that's fucking powerful. And that didn't resonate with me when I read the issue when it first came out. Maybe I was reading it because I was trying to analyze it a little bit more for this, second read, or maybe it just stood out to me this time. I don't know. I love the way he writes Marcus. I love the way he writes every character. You're talking about the cliques, like each clique is so unique and different. And yes, they're separated by race at times.
High school was kind of separated. Right. At least my experience was. I kind of felt like high school was separated by race.
I didn't feel that, maybe because I always stuck with outcasts. So in this book, the outcasts are not all one race. You see this group by the end. It's Maria, Saya,
Willie,
Billy, and fucking Lex. Dude, you have everybody. They're all from different walks of life. And by different walks of life, I mean they come from different murderous families, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they're all there for different reasons. That's what I loved about it. Like where in the beginning you see them all separated, but at the end they're this perfect like blend of different like cultures and different backgrounds. That's like a perfect analogy for what outcasts are. They're all like the outliers, the fucking people that don't necessarily fit in with their group or the group they should be in. I don't know. I just loved it. And you sent that image of like Willie and Marcus walking down talking about music, and you're like, that's us. And I was like, yeah, that is us, except we don't kill people. You know what I mean? Like that's really the only.
Or did we?
Long pause. And yeah. But yeah, like I just. God, dude, it's just and Wes Craig, dude. I've talked about it in the past. I don't know if I've talked about it on here or not. Like where I closed myself off from certain books based on art styles in the past when I was younger. Like I'm like, oh, that's not for me. And I feel like, and this isn't to say I'm not talking shit about Wes Craig. Don't get me wrong. I love his art, right? But like maybe younger Ryan would not have been into it. Maybe this wasn't because it's not your typical superhero art style. Yeah. But I love it, dude. I love it, especially like the scenes when they're on drugs. When they take the acid
trip. The acid trip was like my favorite part of this whole thing.
Holy shit, dude! It's.
I don't want to tell you about the first time I took acid, but let's just say similar.
I never took acid, but I took mushrooms, and let me tell you, I was seeing some shit. My fucking Bob Marley poster came to life while I was sitting there. You know what I mean?
The walls are breathing, bro. The walls are breathing.
Like, what the fuck, dude? He started to play the guitar, and I was like, what the fuck? And I heard the song in my head. So I totally get that, and he conveys it. So it's clear Remender has done some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Remender has done some shit, and so has Wes Craig. If they didn't, then, dude, they're kayfabing for sure. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing a good job. Right. But yeah, like, Wes Craig's, his style, dude, is just so, there's like a kinetic energy to it, and a punk rock vibe that I get from it, and which is perfect because the punk scene plays a part in this and in Marcus's life, and it continues to do so throughout the series. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. I for anybody that either hasn't read it or for you, I don't know how far you've gotten into it. It continues to just fucking get crazier and crazier as the story goes. There's a couple more issues, like drug issues, and those are insane, dude. And Lee Loughridge, his coloring, dude, is the Vegas pages.
The entire Vegas acid trip sequence was definitely like, wow, that's fucking, it's amazing. I like how it was Vegas that they chose for this because the bright lights and the images portrayed and like all the hallucinations and how exaggerated they were and how they just ran with it. I just feel like they literally just ran with it. You know what I mean? And it was just great. For the first stem of its story arc, for this to be the first stem of the story arc, it's like, wow, I can't wait. I can't wait.
I know, dude. And like two of like the characters, like now knowing where they end up, like Saya and Maria, and like seeing them, and Saya kind of has a thing for Marcus. Maria's like not hiding it
at all.
Yeah, at all. And oh my God, dude. I love those two characters. Saya's design, specifically out of everything else in this book, I just love her character. First of all, she's got a fucking sword. I'm all about that. I love seeing fucking anybody with a sword, especially a chick that's tatted the fuck up. Like she's just got such a badass design. Knowing where they end up and then reading it again, it makes it so much more interesting because like now I can kind of pick out the little things that like Remender obviously had in his head when writing. Like, and you see how he's planting the seeds for stuff to come, and Billy and Lex, and Billy's like, he's hilarious, dude. The scene where, you know, the whole reason they're in Vegas and they're going to kill the fucking dad, and like, oh my God, and like watching them go down the hall, and like you see like almost like their clothes are falling apart as they're walking down the hall. Like that's them on acid, because all of them are on acid. The fighting, the gore of it, like where it's not super gory, but just the visceral imagery of like when Marcus is getting the shit kicked out of him. It
was like 9 pages of that. Yeah. It was crazy.
And then you can't forget that creepy looking motherfucker, dude. Chester, the dude from, because Marcus grew up in a group home after his parents died. You know, that's something we kind of skimmed over. Like, so that's why he's even approached by the school to join, because he fucking blew up the boys' home, right? You see him building the bomb.
Yeah.
So that's why he's called a child killer.
As soon as he gets to the assassin school, like everybody knows why he's there. And you got to keep in mind, like all these kids, like they're all from like families of, you know, crime families or freaking
or gangs or whatever.
Or gangs. Like Willie's from Compton. South End. Willie's from Compton. I love his character design just because I have that jacket. I have that LA Kings hat. So hell yeah. Yeah. Like and Willie's great too. We'll get into him, but like, you know, the whole group home thing and like everybody knowing that just adds to like the conflict that he has to face with a lot of the adapting. And like we said before, like Remender, he's freaking hit the nail on the head with that whole thing. It's freaking crazy. And I can't wait to learn more about other people because, like, for the most part, we got a lot of Willie and we got a lot of Marcus. Like, you know, I can't wait to, like, you know, read some more about Saya, you know, Maria. Oh, we got a little bit of Maria, too, but I can't, but you know what I mean? Like,
here's another design, dude. I fucking love that with the Dia de los Muertos. Yeah, dude, that shit's sick, dude. She's a badass character, too. I fucking love her.
Yeah, dude. It's like, I love that, too. I love how to separate themselves from, like, you know, other assassins. They literally take on these crazy personas. Like, it's dope, dude.
When you keep fucking reading, I think there's 9 volumes out right now. Fuck. And like, on the covers, if you have the single issues, like, it'll say the year. 1987 is when it takes place. And, you know, it's funny, like, in the first issue, it'll have like dates at the top, right? It says February 6th, my birthday. And February 6th is Rick Remender's birthday. So he's essentially making himself Marcus. So like the first few trades, man, it stays in 1987. Multiple years of the comic is still only 1 year in the comic. So he's really stretching it out and he's really fleshing out this entire year. He's not like doing it super fast. And then I think right now it might be I think it's still in 88. It might even be in 89. I'm not sure because I think there might be a time jump eventually. He really fucking gets like throughout this volume, the scene of the 80s like is evident, not just like what they talk about, because obviously like the music they're talking about, like
Eric B and Rakim, bro.
Right. So which I loved that. You know what I mean? I love that line. But it's also the design of what they're wearing, you know? So like Billy is super into punk. That'll be something that like continues too, is like they talk about the different music scenes and like in how they'll judge each other or whatever.
Yeah, they totally judge each other. It's like, you listen to the Smiths? That depresses shit.
Yeah, so you know, like, and that's another thing. It's like we talk about small moments, you know, like it's those little character moments that I really love too, like that make it enjoyable. It's not just a book about assassins; it's a book about people. Surface level, you could say, oh, it's about a school of kids and assassins, but that's not what the book is, though. It's so much more. It's so much more than that. Anybody that has watched the show but hasn't read the book, you're doing yourself a disservice, because I mean, I only watched the first episode of the show For whatever reason, I just didn't finish it. I was waiting for it to end, and I just haven't ended up watching the rest of it. But I still think that while they did a great job, it's still not, to me, as great as the comic. Like you miss some of the magic of the comic. You can't translate that onto the screen.
Yeah. It's definitely a surprise for me. Like the thing is, like, actually I want to credit Ant for this. Ant Saldivar. Like he's been posting a lot of Deadly Class, and I was like, fuck, I gotta read it. And I was reading Mouse Guard, which is great, by the way. I'd suggest it to anybody with kids. That's great. Anyway, I was reading it, and I was like, and he kept on posting about it. I'm like, fuck, you know what? I'm just gonna read Volume 1, and then like I smashed Volume 1 within like a couple hours. It was great, dude. It was great.
Like, I knew you would love it. I can't even remember what I recommend you anymore. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like I tell you about all these books, because I tell you so many. I lose track of what I've told you to read and what I haven't told you to read. So
I lose track of what you tell me to read all the time. Like it's just thing. And you know what it takes? It takes for other people to remind me that you told me about this.
Maybe I'll start a Google Doc with just a list of stuff you need to read.
Yeah, do that. Like, sure. And then, make bullet points, and I'll just start crossing them off.
Hashtag Dylan was late to the party.
Dylan's always late to the party. Always. Yeah. And then for the stuff that I'm not late to, it's like borderline trash.
Yeah, and then it's good that you were late. You probably shouldn't have even gone.
I probably shouldn't even gone. It was one of those parties where you thought it was gonna be a party, but then you get there, it was a kickback, and then by like an hour it was like 2 people. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. And then you were like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay. There's no way. I might as well just smoke a blunt. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. No, but like, no, Deadly Class. I definitely recommend that. If you're a fan of Remender, if you haven't read this yet, I definitely suggest it. It's fun with its deep moments, with really heart-wrenching moments too. Even amidst all the chaos and stuff, like. He'll hit you. He'll just punch you in the heart real quick with all the action sequences, and just kind of remind you that this isn't this is like the fight scenes are great, but there's a reason behind all this. There's always a reason, and it's evident with Remender's writing. Like he did a lot of that in the Uncanny X-Force run. Remender's great, dude. Like
you can't forget Master Lin either, bro. I love Master Lin, dude. His fucking dude. And it just like. He only gets better. Like I said, like it's hard for me, like sometimes when I go back, like to be able to talk to somebody that hasn't gone all the way through a series and not like touch on future stuff, but like so knowing where he ends up and like seeing him back then, like it's crazy, like to see that Remender he had so many things that he was already planting in the first volume, and we're already 9 volumes in. And like stuff is like mentioned there that is still touched upon later on, or just teased, like just little details. And then the whole thing with like, I don't know if you noticed, like how he has the rat sent to him in his locker when he gets to school. Like that plays out. That'll play out again like later on. And
it's like, dude, you've been chosen.
The end of school year shit. Oh man, dude, those issues are crazy as fuck. I can't wait to talk to you about that when you read it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm definitely gonna try to plow through another 2 volumes before within the next couple weeks. But right, I got Invincible to worry about. So
yeah, you gotta finish that first.
No, but I never saw the show. I only found out about the show because it was around the time that Swamp Thing was out, and I think they both got like canceled roughly around within like a month of each other. And I was like, you know what I mean? And it was just kind of goes to show you, it's like. I mean, obviously, Swamp Thing was beyond anyone's control because it was just simply a budget thing. But I heard great things about the show, and people were just saying like, "Oh, they shouldn't have canceled it. It was actually a great adaptation." But I'm just like, you also have to think about it like this. Sometimes when you put something on network television like that, like it just doesn't translate in ratings. A streaming service would be better because you can watch it at your leisure. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing I hate about network television, where you like, oh, you have to be somewhere at a certain time to watch it. There, that's it, and then you won't get it for like a couple days to be able to stream. Like, sometimes like I want to binge watch like 3 episodes.
I feel the same way, and that's kind of a good segue because maybe that show shouldn't have been on Sci-Fi, but something that was on Sci-Fi recently.
Yeah. freaking Todd McFarlane documentary. I didn't even know it was happening until literally like the Monday before.
Me too. I think he's just started sharing it on social media. I was like, fuck, there was like no real lead into this.
No, but like it didn't stop me or didn't kill my momentum to want to watch it.
No, it didn't.
If you haven't watched it yet, so basically, not only is it a documentary about Todd's backstory, but it's also kind of like telling a little bit the story and the work ethic behind him and the race to issue 300 of Spawn.
Right. Hey, right. But didn't that feel like this was supposed to come out before Spawn 300?
Or immediately after.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like because there was a lot of shots of pages that were like huge spoilers.
Oh yeah, like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like,
so I mean, yeah, the She Spawn and like the whole Spawn without a costume, but he's still Spawn, like that thing. It's definitely, I definitely feel like it should have came out like shortly after, but Spawn 300 was almost a year ago or like 10 months ago. I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's on issue 308, and there was a hiatus during quarantine, so yeah, almost a year.
Yeah, so it's definitely an inspiring tale, dude. Like you can tell the man's work ethic was just like relentless, just unstoppable. Like he adapted. You know what I loved? How when they talked about his time at Marvel, how everyone said, no, don't do that, no, don't do that, and he was like, okay, yeah, but he just did it anyway.
I know, like, and think about if he would have listened to them, dude. What we would not have got.
Yeah, exactly. And just the amazing things. I mean, keep in mind, this guy created freaking Venom. Like,
dude, he created the spaghetti webbing.
Webbing.
That alone to me is like, it makes sense. Like, why would it come out like a fucking, like a net almost?
All the time.
Spraying out of it. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't make sense. Like, the big eyes, the
big expressive eyes were my favorite part.
I love that.
His Todd McFarlane Spawn. Yeah, he made him like a spider. He even says that he wanted to emphasize the spider and not the man.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I know. Like, I love Todd McFarlane. I love his stuff. You know, I talked about recently that I got a pretty huge Spawn run. That just made me want to read it even more. And I already wanted to read it, but like now, like watching that and like you hear him, just the passion in his voice and like no matter what happened to him, dude, he didn't let it get him down. He even was in bankruptcy. You know, he lost a couple lawsuits. Like it talks about that, and even his.
I didn't know Neil Gaiman created Medieval Spawn. I knew about Angela, but I didn't know about the whole Medieval Spawn.
Yeah, I knew about it, and I knew about that lawsuit. You know, that hurt his reputation, and they kind of touch on that briefly in the show too. And it's just, you know, he did nothing, dude. Nothing deterred that man. Like he kept pushing, dude. And then he got out of bankruptcy, and he still has it. I mean, he's literally got an empire. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. He's the most successful independent creator in comic books, without a doubt.
And,
like you can't even question
absolutely.
That.
Everybody knows who Todd McFarlane is. You see Larry Fitzgerald? Larry Fitzgerald, wide receiver for the friggin' Arizona Cardinals, literally sitting there talking about Todd McFarlane.
I know.
How great is that?
I know. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy to hear like so many different people from different walks of life talking about him. You know, I think what I really liked the most also from it, or maybe not the most, but one of the things I liked the most was his wife. His wife talking about and his perseverance and hearing like her side of it, kind of, you know, even at the end, like when he
Wanda,
talks about
dude.
it. Yeah, and then Cyan is his daughter.
Yeah,
you know, like
Wanda and Cyan.
So he named Spawn's wife and daughter after his own wife and daughter, which was pretty cool. You know, but like watching him tear up talking about his wife, I was like, oh my God, dude, like that's like that was emotional. I was like, my eyes almost started watering when I saw him do that. What he accomplished when people, you know, like he was saying even there when like there was like some footage of him at cons, right? And he said, and he talks about like, don't listen to people when they tell you no, just do it. And he talks about being like a rabid dog with a bone, like just go for it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just so inspiring on so many levels. Like whether you're a writer, whether you're an artist, whether you're a cook or anything, dude, you can apply what he says to any profession and use that as fuel and motivation. Yeah, because he came from nothing, dude. Like really, he was nobody. He lived in a, I think he said he lived in a trailer, or even if he didn't live in a trailer, even if he lived in a house, but he wasn't rich. He didn't come
No.
from money, and he built himself up and marketed himself. He wasn't a businessman. He learned that shit on the fly. He had his, fumbles, and he didn't let it get him down. And that is the perfect example of, that, like, it's just a beautiful success story, dude. And it's cool that it happened in comics. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like Mamba mentality, but McFarlane.
Yeah, McFarlane mentality.
McFarlane mentality, dude. Like, you can tell that he was a spearhead for Image, especially with the way Mark Silvestri talks about him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Mark Silvestri, like, Mark Silvestri is one of my favorite artists of all time. Like,
me too.
He's definitely one of the that whole Image team is definitely the difference between comics before and comics now. With Image now, none of that would have been possible without Spawn, without Spawn. Like, really, honestly.
No, it's still the highest selling independent book of all time.
Yeah. And, like, without Spawn, like, so Spawn paved the way for all these things to happen. Like, he paved the way for Robert Kirkman. He paved the way for Kieran Gillen, and paved the way for freaking Brian K. Vaughan to be able to do the things that they wanted and not have to worry about a company owning the rights to it. You know what I mean? And not getting their intellectual properties taken away from them and, like, leave them broken. Marvel and DC, yeah, they're cool. They're great for their history and their characters, but these things that these individual creators were bringing to these characters, they don't own that. That's unfair. Like, it was that, and that's they touch on that too. And I love how it started off with just three guys, right? Just three guys that wanted to separate away from Marvel, and then then Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri were, like, literally at the hotel lobby, and they talked them into it. And then all of a sudden, it was like six fools.
Yeah, and then Jim Lee brought in Whilce Portacio, and it was
Whilce. Whew,
and
Whilce.
It is crazy to think about that. Like, you're bringing up Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri, like, they're the only two creators that were formed Image that they had on there.
Yeah.
And, like, seeing Mark Silvestri talk about Todd, like, because you don't see Silvestri in interviews talking, and he talked so glowingly about Todd McFarlane, and I thought that was really cool.
He even did Todd McFarlane's voice pretty well. Hey, bud.
He did. Because, like, I hear most of the creators, like Rob Liefeld, I've heard him do Todd's voice, but he kind of does it a little, just a tad over the top, like just a little too animated. Yeah, just a little too much of a caricature. But Silvestri got it down good, dude. And it like, I kind of laughed when I heard him do it. And seeing Jim Lee, I was kind of shocked to see him on the documentary as well, because I know I don't know his relationship with the founding Image fathers anymore. So, that was kind of cool to see him talking about Todd, because Jim Lee wouldn't be where he's at. Didn't leave with Todd. Todd didn't convince him to go.
Yeah, I agree.
Dude, because, like, look, I mean, he got to where he is because he left, went to Wildstorm, sold Wildstorm to DC, and then got a position at DC that was high up. So,
high up position.
I mean, like, and now he's publisher. Look what Todd he's had his hands in so many big moments in comics over the last 3 decades. What he's done, changing, like, characters at Marvel, creating Spawn, helping create one of the greatest independent publishers in history, and it's still going strong. It's just a testament, dude. It's a testament to his work ethic. Like, it's just made me like Todd McFarlane even more. And he's been abrasive, like, people say that about him, but I think that's just because he strives for greatness and expects greatness.
And McFarlane mentality, bro.
Yeah, McFarlane. I'm gonna hashtag that, dude.
What I really liked about it was, like, the ending segment of it. He's just talking about the fans, right? And he's like, especially in contrast to what at the beginning of the documentary, where he says, like, once you understand that not every human being isn't gonna like your stuff, you're free. And then at the end, he talks about the fans, and he's just like, we'd be nothing without them. We would be nothing.
That was cool, dude.
And you can see that he's transferred that on to a lot of the people that he's worked with, like Greg Capullo. Greg Capullo is all about his fans. Like, freaking, I mean, obviously it didn't transfer to some people because, Rob Liefeld is a piece of shit to his fans, but you can tell that he knows exactly who he's catering to, and he knows that without us, the fans, there would be no Todd McFarlane. There would be no Image. There would be no Marvel. There would be no DC. Without the fans, like, these are just funny books. He keeps that in mind and maintains a level of quality to everything he does. You know what I mean? Like, he's definitely one of the few artists that I could literally sit there and say his work has gotten better.
Dude, he's still got
so
it,
much
dude.
better. He's so much better.
Yeah,
he was crazy before.
Still.
Yeah, he was crazy before. Spawn issue 1 of Spawn was like still like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But like, dude, the stuff that he did from like 300 to 305, fucking nuts.
I know those covers are fucking. I mean, I love it. He's still doing the covers.
Yeah.
I mean, they put out 3 covers per comic. That dude has not lost a step. I think like that's one of the greatest crimes in comics is that McFarlane is not drawing a fucking comic book on a monthly basis. Even I would be cool with just 1 issue a year. You know what I mean? Like, and it would be like when your favorite artist drops a new album. You know, you got a new McFarlane comic this year. It's this year's McFarlane issue. Like, I would just be so down for that, man. Yeah. But,
I would literally read other comics to lead up into that. That way I don't miss a step as to context, as to what he throws in there, any of it. The excitement of that alone would keep me in a comic.
That's why I got back into Spawn, dude. Was because of 300. I was like, oh, wait, McFarlane, Capullo, Snyder, fucking, okay. I'll fucking start reading Spawn again.
Okay, when Capullo was talking about how he had to talk to DC to do 300, he was like, I'm glad they said yes, because I would have done it anyway.
I know, I love that. Capullo's badass, dude. I love Capullo.
Dude. Capullo, that's like, he's my spirit. Oh, he's my spirit animal, bro.
I love him, man. He was so nice too when I met him in person, dude. That's probably one of like the coolest creators I think I've met. One of the ones that I really enjoyed meeting.
And like, you know, they said that no one's done more issues of Spawn than Capullo.
I know, and it's insane to think about that. And I like that, you know, and I noticed also, you know, you said that about how he said that about Capullo has done more issues than anyone else. The humbleness of Todd comes through on this video too, because he says, he's like, you know, I may not be as good as Greg Capullo
or Jim Lee.
And I was like, wow, dude, like, I've never heard him say that. And for him to say that but it's just, it's cool to see him be so humble still when he's the fucking Todd father, dude. Like, he is the creator.
That's his literal nickname. I can't believe that someone has a nickname like that. Hell yeah, the fucking Todd father, dude.
I know. I wish that I had a nickname like that, dude.
Speaking of nicknames, once we start doing our comic, I'm not gonna go by Dylan Upwell. I'm gonna go by Dillbot, kind of like Art Germ. Dillbot. That's it.
I mean, I'm down for it.
Okay, but anyway, stuff like that. When you hear writers like that, especially writers so high up and so revered, it's definitely what keeps me inspired. Definitely what keeps me interested in comics, because in an industry where it's just filled with so many big names, so many people who's left such heavy footprints, to know that someone like Todd McFarlane exists, to know where he came from, to know that this person, that a kind of work ethic like this exists and it's possible. Like, it's like one of the most inspiring things, dude.
It's definitely inspiring, and like I said before we started recording, I was like, "Fuck, dude! Like, I don't even draw. I want. I like that. That made me want to fucking draw, and I'll ink. You know, like I said earlier, I'll be a fucking tracer, dude. I don't give a shit. You know, I'll trace the shit out of somebody, dude. Just like in Chasing Amy, they called him a tracer and he flipped out. I won't flip out. Give me your fucking art, and I will trace the shit out of it, dude. You know?
Dude, some inkers are dope. Like, dude, Scott Williams is still one of my favorite
Williams
inkers.
Is insane, dude. Yeah, I like him. And then Jonathan Glapion, I think.
Yeah.
The guy that inks Capullo.
Yeah.
And they're good, and they're also really good artists. Like, their commissions are dope as fuck. So
I love Scott Williams' profile pictures. Like when he does like the side views of people. Dude, that's some of like the best freaking work ever. Like,
he did an X variant too during the Dawn of X. I think House of X or Powers of 10, one of those. He did a variant cover. It was sick.
Damn. See. Yeah. But anyway, just inspire.
Yeah.
Like, he talks about that too. He wants to inspire the next generation of people to do what he did, and that's amazing. That's amazing.
It is amazing. He said you don't need to try to be number one. He's like, why don't you just try to be number 200? You know what I mean? Like, just do that, but don't not do it. Yeah. Just do something, you know? And like, and he said that in an interview that I watched with him, and that really resonated with me too. Like, you don't have to be number one. If you don't do anything, you're nothing, right? But
Yeah.
just strive for 200 and see where you get, and then just keep going from there.
That's crazy. And 300 rejection letters. 300.
I know it's pretty crazy to think that he was rejected, but I mean, look, it didn't stop his ass. Fucking kept pushing, dude.
And you know, when he was talking about like, you know, when he's talking about Jim Lee and Greg Capullo, he's like, yeah, like, you know, like, I'm not the best at anatomy, and I'm thinking, and my entire thing, but that's been going through my head as far as like art wise. It's like, oh, I got to get anatomy down. I got to get anatomy down. I got to get anatomy down. So when he said that, like, that shattered everything that I was thinking about. I was like,
yeah.
Man, like, oh.
You think fucking Kirby was sitting there thinking about anatomy? Hell
Exactly.
no, dude. He was trying to be as expressive and as bombastic with his art as possible. Same with McFarlane. Same with Liefeld with his no feet. You know what I'm saying? Like, hiding the feet behind shit. So,
you know, everybody talks about Liefeld and his no feet, but I'm like, man, I can't draw feet either.
I mean, whatever. Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't matter. Like, and say what you will about Liefeld, but his art was exciting when it came out, right? McFarlane's art, exciting. Silvestri, fucking all of them, all the image guys, dude. Like, and you don't have to necessarily, like, it doesn't have to be a portrait, which is like perfectly anatomically correct. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's cool about your art. I remember in high school when you were drawing our old comic idea. You know what I mean? Like, you weren't sitting there like worried about like, oh, is this gonna be anatomically correct? Who cares? It looks dope as fuck, and that's all that matters. Is it looks cool, and it's not like you drew the head like super small. You know what I mean? Like, as long as the head looks proportional in some way, then that's all that matters, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, the rest of it, like, just make it look dope, dude. I think that's what's missing in comics. People just need to draw dope shit, because that's what's awesome about comic books. It's not just the writing, but it is the art. And I'm not looking at that when I'm reading. Like, oh, is that anatomically correct? No, I don't care. Does it look cool? That's all I care about. Does it look good?
Yeah.
Or does it look shitty?
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, you know, all it took was freaking Todd McFarlane to tell me that.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Todd. You're the best. best Todd father ever. I'm gonna send you a gift this year.
What else? What else have you done this weekend? You read anything cool besides what we talked about, or any new books?
No. Like, honestly, it's just been Invincible. Trying to finish up friggin' I Hate Fairyland, and I didn't even get around to reading Pulp. Like, I read like one page, and then, like, you know, life.
Oh, let me stop you right there real quick, huh? I'm gonna say this here: Pulp is my favorite book that has come out this year. And I'm not just saying.
Okay.
You talk about House of X, Powers of 10. No, I like this better. This book was phenomenal. The entire package. Like, it was so well written. So
and it's just a one shot, right? It's just a one shot, novel, right?
Yeah. I'm already starting my list of my top books of 2020. And it's already shot to the top. You know, like, and maybe not everybody will feel that way. Maybe, you know, somebody might disagree with me. I'll argue, this was a perfect package. This was amazing, dude. I can't, like, I hand sold at least 12 of these to people that walked into the shop. I almost sold us out on Wednesday, and I was only there from 11 to 4. So in 5 hours, I almost sold us out because the subs bought theirs, and, you know, it's a hardcover. Yeah, that's not an easy sell to sell somebody on a $17 book. Just for any of you listening, I hustled that shit. I looked at Nick. I was like, "Watch me clear that stack on the counter. I'm gonna do," and that was only 6. I'm like, "I'm gonna get rid of that counter, or that stack on the counter." And he's like, "Go for it." And I cleared 4 of them within the first hour. And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna keep going." And at least 12.
Yeah, damn.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overshooting it, but I'm pretty sure it was close to 12 at least.
Yeah. Like, so, by the time I got into the shop on Wednesday, like, I got there like a little bit before 3. They were like, "Yeah, it's already gone." I'm like, "What about the other shop? I think they have like 3 left." I'm like, damn.
It's amazing. And dude, so great. So.
Did you read Texas Blood this week?
I loved it.
I'm like, it's literally sitting in front of me.
It was good, dude. Like, after the first issue, I had a couple little minor problems. This one got rid of those. I loved it. Again, it was another fucking amazing comic. It was a pretty decent week for stuff. Nothing too exciting. I can't remember what else came out this week that I read. I know those two stood out for me. You know, I talked about that Adrian Tomina book, The Loneliest Cartoonist.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's on my top books for 2020. It was fucking amazing, and I know
it's on my Goodreads to want to read list. So
have to read that book. You are going to love it. I know you. I just know you, and you're gonna love it. And then you'll want to read his other stuff. And I got the recommendations for you on that. I think I mostly read. And I said earlier on the show, I read Absolute Watchmen. Finished that. That took me a few days. I forgot what a heavy read that is, but yeah. So I don't think anything else that came out this week was too exciting. I think next week though, there's some good stuff. Anything you're excited about next week?
Dead Planet #2, bro.
I forgot about that.
Wait. Speaking of Dead Planet and Tom Taylor, what the fuck is he doing? I don't.
Is he doing JSA or not? I don't
know.
Is he trolling me? Is that motherfucker trolling me?
He's trolling us all, bro.
God damn you, Taylor. God damn you, Tom Taylor. If it's not JSA, I'll be sad.
I literally posted, "You're killing me, Tom," on my story on Instagram, and someone commented, "Is like, so he's on brand then. He's literally killing us all." But that's literally what Tom Taylor does. Just kills. But
that's hilarious.
but it's crazy. Actually, all the stuff that I'm excited for, aside from like DC, the deceased. I'm sorry, is Image stuff. We got Firepower 2 and we have Protector 5.
Another issue, The Goddamned.
Oh, The Goddamned. Yeah, that. I was late to the party once again, but I'm actually pretty excited about that too. There's a lot this is a big week for me.
Yeah, anyway. I don't have much. I think there's a new Dreaming, which is in the Sandman universe. It's got the debut of Ruin, which is another one of the Endless siblings. It's a new one being introduced. So I'm gonna check that. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out because G. Willow Wilson is a great writer. She's and then we got Nick Robles on art. Who we just read, he was on Euthanauts, the artist on Euthanauts. So I'm pretty stoked for that book. I'll check it out, see what it's about. And Usagi Yojimbo is also coming out this week. But yeah, for me, it's kind of a light week. Not much to talk about. Empire's coming out for the 4th week in a row. Won't be reading that.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to get through some of the Eisner winners this year. I know Jen's gonna love this, but I'm gonna try and read Little Bird within the next 2 weeks.
Hey! Let's do that as one of the episodes for sure. When you get it, I'm trying to get more. We're trying to get more in the shop. So once he gets more, I'll definitely be able to read it. But we're sold out. So
yeah, and I have the digital copy of They Call This Enemy by George Takei.
That's also on order at the shop. So once I get that in, we'll do that.
We'll run that. Just by judging on the cover, no synopses. It looks like it's talking about the Japanese internment camps during World War II.
Yes.
So
yes.
Well, that's definitely something I want to read. Like, it's one of the most freaking profound and horrific things to ever happen. Like, so yeah, I would love to get perspective on that. That's something crazy for me. Just gonna try and get through those. Some of the Eisner winners I've read already, and I'm down, super down.
Awesome, dude. And then next week's episode, just to I think we kind of touched on it, is Canto Vol.1.
Yeah.
And we got Jen coming back on the show, which I'm pretty excited to have her back on.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited too. I love talking to Jen. I'm actually going to be doing a pod panel with Jen, Life of Geeky Mind, Sunflower the Blurred, Senior Reads, and Anna Reads Comics, and we're going to talk about the whole, should we separate art from the artists in lieu of all the crazy accusations and all the trash bags that exist within the comic industry. And we're going to talk about that. Like, all of us have opposing opinions. I'm really excited. It's going to be a nice little mature talk between nerds, and it's going to be great. So look out for that.
I also have something in the works with Jen. She is going to be joining me for a chat about women in comics. We're going to talk about the importance of women in comics, how it's grown so much over the last few years. That'll be something we're recording later in the month. Like I said, and you said, I love talking to her. She's one of the few people that I constantly talk to on IG messaging. You know what I mean? I try to stay in touch with other people, but I usually talk to her and you the most. Yeah. So I'm excited to be able to have just a one-on-one chat with her. Also I got a cool interview coming up this week. I'll tell you after.
Hey.
But yeah, so I got that
Exclusive
coming out.
shit.
Yeah, I got some cool vids to coincide with that. Yeah, so don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. You can also find Dylan on his profile at the Dillbot on Instagram.
Yeah.
Email us your comments or suggestions if there's any books you'd like to see us talk about. thecomicloungepod@gmail.com. All these links.
Well, I don't know why we haven't done that. We should do like a Insta poll and have them decide.
But yeah, and so send us your email, suggestions, comments, anything to the email. All these links will be down below. Don't forget to subscribe to this on Podbean or whatever your podcast provider is that you listen to us on. We're also on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button on that as well, and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we put a new one up. The podcasts are weekly. They go up every Tuesday. The chats between Dylan and I. Then the other content is spread out throughout the week.
Yeah, man. Like I was telling Ryan before we started recording, I don't know. I might be just tooting my own horn and stroking my own ego, but I think our podcasts are getting better and better every week. So if you guys just even if you guys are just hopping on late or hopping on whenever, just give us a listen. We're just getting doper and doper, and shit, it's gonna be dope.
We're the new dynamic duo. You know what I'm saying? So come listen to us talk. And on that note, we're out.
Later, bud.